Come from India. I've been in the elevator industry for this is my 33rd year, and for the last 15, 16 years, I've been an elevator consultant. So the intention of the presentation today is to give you a glimpse of what's happening in India, and as we go along, we'll sort of just see how things are going. However, to start off, I would first go back 12 years when I made a presentation in Italy to Annika regarding what was happening. And in those 12 years, we didn't have an exhibition here. I didn't come back here. And when I come back here today, what I see is incredible, and congratulations to the organizers. I think a great job done. I think it was wonderful. Okay, so in 2010, we had made predictions in terms of what the market would be. There were questions asked in terms of what do we have as an association. So the first thing I need to do is provide a progress report in terms of what happened in those years. So the first thing is, in 2010, we had predicted that there would be about a 54,000 market. We closed the year at about 52,600, which is almost close by. And we did also manage to form an association. We will talk about the association a little later as we go along. So there has been progress. It's been something that we have worked on. There were a couple of other things also that I had discussed in 2010, and I'll just sort of rewind again. One of the things is that when you look at India, you need to look at India as an elephant. So if you come to India, the chances that you will see an elephant more on the roads than you would see in the jungle or in a zoo. And you will find a very friendly elephant. You'll also find what you see on the right-hand side, an elephant which has gone rogue. Incidentally, my session is for about 1 hour, but the way we will structure it is 30 minutes we will have it here. After 30 minutes, we'll shift to my stall, which is right next to the elevator stall right there in the front. So, my good friend Silvio Napoli, chairman, the global chairman of Schindler, he used to sort of give a strategy for India and used to call it half monk, half warrior, which means a lot of patience and you need to keep fighting. And I think that sort of sums up the kind of strategy that you need to be having to do business in India. This was advice that he had given in 1998, 99. And 22, 23 years later, I think it still remains the same. So it's essential that you see that. The next thing that I did point out at that point of time is we are a Commonwealth country, so we drive on the wrong side of the road from your perspective. That is at least most of the times. So people who drive in Italy, when they come to India, they say, no, it's okay. We can manage to drive in India because both the places are a little bit aggressive, but I think India is a little bit more aggressive than what you would find in Italy, because when it suits us, we will drive on the wrong side of the road. The other thing again is India is a large country, and we have so many different languages to the extent that when I have to speak to my wife, she's an Indian, I have to speak to her in English because I don't understand her language, and she has to speak to me in English because she doesn't understand her language. This is, again, in terms of a strategy that anybody wanting to do business in India needs to be looking at. And I would sort of call it the United Countries of India. And I give an example, Brook Bond tea. I mean, it's a global tea supplier. And for India, the different regions, they have different flavors. Like for in Punjab, the tea is much stronger. They make a different recipe for the south from where I come. And in Mumbai, where I live, they have a different flavor. So in terms of strategy, in terms of approach, it is essential that we look at India as a multi-pronged country. From an elevator perspective, it's a little easier because we have standards that govern elevators and escalators in terms of what needs to be done. In 2010, when I had made my presentation, there was this thought saying, no, Indian standards are very different and very difficult, so I have some good news. We are in the process of going the ISO line. So by the end of this year, we would have adopted ISO 8100 Part 1 and Part 2 with a few changes. One is the capacity. which means we are more or less in sync with EN 8120 and 50. So the problem that existed is no longer the case. We have also adopted many other ISO standards. I'm just sort of putting across some numbers. And we are slowly drifting in that position. So for somebody wanting to do business in India from Europe, it's no longer a problem. We also have a national building code. Incidentally, I'm the chairman of the section for elevators and escalators for the national building code. We are governed by the Bureau of Indian Standards, which is a recommendatory body, and each state has to do it like a little bit like the US. One of the biggest problems is that we have a lot of people. I was in a taxi when I was coming from the airport to Milan, and he asked, I said, how many people? I said, 1.3 billion. He thought I was saying 1.3 million. I said, no, it's not M, it is B. Now, this 1.3 billion people is part of the reasons why we have problems in India, but it also is the reason why there are a billion opportunities. Through almost all the economical struggles that we have had, the domestic market, the captured market has ensured that we managed to sort of pull along. Looking at the Indian economy, the large population, I think just about last month it was established that our GDP was higher than UK, United Kingdom. But then when we look at it per capita, it is much lower. And the slides that I'll be using to discuss this is by the Madras Consultant Group, who since 1997 have been studying the Indian elevator industry and have been publishing reports. I know there are many European companies who depend upon their studies to sort of plan their activities. So their estimate is that over the next 5 years, we would have a 6 to 6.5% rate of increase per annum, which I think in the circumstances is pretty good. The real estate, we had a huge dip during COVID. I mean, there had been miserable times. But if you look at the residential segment, we are already higher than what it was in 2019 before the COVID lockdown happened. The commercial sector, we are almost there, but still a long way to go, but we are catching up. Business has been pretty good. Elevator market growth, expectedly 2020, we had a huge dip on account of the COVID situation. But then now we are almost at par at what we were in 2019. And it's expected that there will be a growth, and we would be at 2025, 26 by over 100,000 units. I would like to sort of put a marker here. This is where I have a difference with Madras Consultancy Group, because I believe that he's not managing to capture many of the small micro elevator companies. And it's very difficult to do it because they are in every nook and corner. And my estimate is they would probably be about 15 to 20%. So his report is probably understated by 15 to 20%. As expected, the elevator market did have a huge dip, and we are back to what it was in 2019. Again, some of the companies who do business in India, I know they are very, very busy at the moment, and they're sort of laughing their way to the bank because money has now started flowing in. Earlier in 2010, when I had talked about it, I had said that the major cities contribute to a big chunk, but the big growth that we are seeing is in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. There are lots of changes that are happening. Buildings are getting taller. I remember in 1998, 99, when we did a 4 meter per second elevator, that was the fastest. Today, I'm involved in a project where the speed that we are looking at is 10 meter per second. We are looking in terms of double-deck elevators. From an Italian market perspective, one of the other big things that is happening are home lifts. It's really coming up in a big way, which means there are people with cash who have got a bungalow of 2 floors and they need a home lift. There are people who are living in apartments which are of 2 floors and they also need a home lift. So opportunities are really growing up. So I sort of will dig into 1996 to what is happening now. And I do this to sort of illustrate a point. In 2006, 2008, I talked to an Italian company about doing business in India. At that point of time, he looked around and said, no, the market is too small. The next time I talked to him was 2009, and he said, no, Lehman Brothers has happened, the economical situation is bad, we can't come to India. I mean, I sort of did tell him that probably this is the time to look at India because it's an opportunity to grow. My good friend Fabio is not here. In fact, I had even offered to Fabio that I'm willing to come to Italy, talk to people on a one-on-one to sort of explain to them what the possibilities are and sort of address the issues. Long story short, this company sadly went out of business. I think they failed to seize the opportunity and went out of business. Really sad. Okay, the other thing that I would also like to point is we have had a checkered growth in the elevator industry. We have had different situations. We have had the Lehman Brothers hitting us. We have had some internal economical issues that came and hit us. Then, of course, we had the COVID. And the point that I'd like to show again, and which has been demonstrated time after time, is every time we have had a dip due to some constraint or some problem, external or internal, we have always managed to bounce back. And this is something that has been proved over decades together. In terms of import of elevators, we do import components, we do import elevators. Sadly, I say it sadly with, tongue-in-cheek, a big contributor is China, which was not the case before. About 20 years back, it used to be Europe that used to supply most of the components and the elevators to India. And I think in many ways, China did manage to sort of get into it because the rest of the world really didn't see India as an opportunity, which China got in, and they managed to sort of take advantage of it. Exports have also started picking up, and with the COVID situation, exports from India have picked up. There are European companies who are expanding their manufacturing facilities in India with the sole purpose of exports. Just to give you an idea, Kone, for instance, have virtually increased their manufacturing capacity 4 times. So when I was at the factory at the inauguration, I asked them, I said, what's the basis? And they said, we are looking in terms of exports. There are a couple of other European companies, I don't want to mention the name, who are also looking in terms of expanding the manufacturing in India, look as an alternative to China. So what's the key to doing business in India? I use this quite often, and I mean it, that you can't swim unless you jump into the pool. You can't swim unless you get yourself wet. It's just not the elevator industry. There are many businesses where people try to do business in India, sitting in the US, sitting in Europe, sitting in some, maybe Australia or Japan. And I don't think business can ever work in that fashion, which sort of, makes it a little difficult. And I will just go, as we go along, I'll just show what happens to people who have actually jumped into the pool and have started swimming. And this is a clear example. So we showed this graph of how things have grown, and I'm just putting up a list of some of the companies that have now got boots on the ground, who have jumped into the pool and have been willing to the risk. Yeah, they have had risks, they have had problems. Montanari, 2008, they're one of the leaders as far as machines go in India. And Montanari is not a cheap company. Fermator, they're doing huge business in India. Monteferro, Vittur. And I'll just give an example of Arkel in 2018. It's a Turkish controller company. Excuse me. They have sort of captured and they have sort of become the leaders in the premium controller market. And again, they are not cheap controllers, they are expensive controllers, but they have sort of become the leaders for controllers. Now, I do not think these businesses would have happened if they had not moved out from Istanbul, or they are not moved out of Europe. They actually had to get into the pool. And if you look at the OEMs, Schindler came in 1998, set up Schindler India. I mean, I was one of the first employees there. Last year, they were the market leaders in terms of the units that they had sold. TK Elevators 2002, Fujitec 2004. They've just expanded, Fujitec has just expanded their their manufacturing facility in Chennai with a test tower, which is probably going to be the tallest test tower in India. Hitachi, Toshiba. So my point is that it's not going to be possible that we sit somewhere else and try to do business in India. Is India an easy market? No, it's not an easy market at all. But if you need to do business in this growing market, in this opportunity situation, you really need to get in there. So what are the things that we do have? I mean, in fact, there's a comment that has come from many Europeans, I mean, sort of tongue-in-cheek, saying, you know, India is a cheap market. No, we can't afford to. I mean, our equipment will not be sold there. What you see over here is one large room. Incidentally, it's an elevator. It's installed by Kone, and they claim it's the largest elevator. I was a consultant for this project. It's got a capacity of over 200 people. Now, this doesn't come cheap. Now, there are clients who do buy cheap, who want cheap, but there are also clients who are willing to pay the price for what they expect in terms of a premium, in terms of a quality product. So you have both kinds. The windows, Madras Consultancy Group, I believe with their experience of over 2 decades studying the Indian market, would probably be one of the best consultancy groups to approach to get information in terms of what needs to be done, what is happening in the market, in terms of best location setup manufacturing units. There are many companies from Europe who have consulted with them and today are doing phenomenally well. There's an exhibition that is happening in February. That's not my exhibition. I'll talk about it as we go along. And the other thing is IGMAI, that's the Elevator and Escalator Component Manufacturer Association of India, which was set up in 2021. And we are very clear what our intention is: to build up quality, work on standards, and grow the market in the right fashion. We have already looking in terms of support from ANACAM, we're looking in terms of support from ANICA, looking at support from VFA, and this has been growing. We have been doing a lot of activities. For instance, twice a month, we have a webinar which gets held, technical webinar. In fact, I can see Nicole sitting over there who did a session for us on ropes. From Prisman Group, he came in and did a session, online session. He's not paying attention to what I'm saying because he knows what I'm going to say. He did a thing which was, I think we had about 100, 150 people attending that session. So twice a month we do sessions, we do a lot of training, we interacting with a lot of people. So that's again an opportunity that does open up. The other big window is an exhibition that I'm involved with. We call it IC, that is International Sourcing Exposition for Elevators. This is just an indication of the people who are involved with it, people who are exhibiting. And when I made this slide, and by the time I got it out here, I believe there are 6 more companies that have been added. There should have been 6 more logos over here, but I didn't have the time to change it. It is December 1st, 2nd, 3rd in Mumbai. This is a picture of Ducati bikes. I'm sure all of you recognize it. And I need to state that this is not from Italy. Over the last 2 days that I've been here, I've been looking around for Ducati motorcycles, and I've been seeing more BMW, I've been seeing Honda, I've been seeing Yamaha, I've not been seeing BMW. This is from India. And I have a close friend of mine, you see husband and wife at the bottom right corner, avid bikers. Now my question is, if Ducati can do business in India, why can't Anika do business in India? What is it that stops Anika? What is it stops Italian companies, for that matter even European companies, from doing business in India? Of course, we do have cheap bikes also. We do have cheap motorcycles also that are sold. But then they are a niche thing. Incidentally, I have a Triumph Tiger, and I'm looking in terms of upgrading. I'm considering the BMW GS and the Ducati Multistrada, as you would say. My business partner for this has said that it depends on, your decision will be based on the number of exhibitors. If more exhibitors come from Germany, BMW. If more exhibitors come from Italy, it's going to be a Ducati. So, it's sort of taken away from me. But again, I think from a serious perspective, if there are companies who are doing premium business in India, it's obviously an opportunity for Anika. Okay, for Anika, there's a window of opportunity that does exist. Along with these exhibitors, there is an Anika pavilion that has been created, and I would strongly urge you to contact Sylvia, who is sitting over there, to look at this opportunity to explore, get into India, get into the business opportunities that exist. And next to China, India is the 2nd largest market in the world. It's probably not as big as China is, but in my opinion, as the next couple of decades go, this is going to be one of the markets that's consistently going to keep growing up. And it's my request, please don't miss this opportunity. I mean, 2010, I talked about a company that actually had to close doors. If they had probably explored India at that moment, maybe the story would have been very different. Please do not miss this opportunity. Please do talk to Sylvia about it. I mean, we need to get it happening. Okay, a question that I faced over the last couple of days is, what's the COVID situation in India? The fact of the matter is, I think everybody has forgotten what COVID is. The only restriction that we have right now is in an aircraft, we're expected to wear a mask, even if it's a domestic flight. Any international traveler needs to do an online declaration. There's a website, you do an online declaration that you have got your 2 vaccinations. I mean, they call it the primary, you have completed the primary vaccinations. So if you've got your vaccinations, you don't need an RT-PCR, you don't need anything. So it's not as if it's difficult to travel to India anymore. And masks, again, I'm repeating, other than in an aircraft, which I think in many ways is justified, even if there was no COVID, it's not mandatory anywhere. Nobody wears a mask anywhere. So that's also the last excuse that did probably exist is also now taken away. So, Benuti, I hope I got it right, Benuti A Bombay. I mean, I look forward to seeing you there, look forward to hosting you there and seeing the opportunities that are existing and, sort of work together and, it's good business for everybody. And India is not just an opportunity for elevators. I mean, the single malt whiskey over there is, there are no Scots over here, there are no British over here, so I'll tell them that in a blind test, it was considered to be better than many of the Scotch single malts. So my request is we can continue this meeting, you can come over to my stall and we can have a little bit of a whiskey tasting situation. I know you guys are wine people who prefer wine, but you could sort of test it, check it out. So if there are no questions, I would suggest that we could go over to my stall and check out what is happening. Thank you very much. And the questions can continue in my stall too, so it's a little bit more of a personal thing. Let's go on there. Thank you very much.